I had a few things on my mind regarding business for Zoroastrians. I'm sure many of you have had wine that comes out of Europe, especially. Some American wines are like this as well as Australian wines, but specifically European wines. You look at the bottle that the wine has come out in, and you look at the dates that's mentioned on the bottle. Not the date that the wine was made, but the date of establishment of that winery. You look at the bottle and, for example, it says Chateau such and such, 1912, 1875. Chateau such and such, 1765. Chateau is basically means winery, orchard where where grape is grown in French. And when you go and look at the history of these wineries, you will see that it's been many of them are in the same families, have been in the same families and are in the same families since the beginning of production. Now it's like the fifth generation, sixth generation, seventh generation. And this for them, as it should be for all of us, is a point of pride that this business has been in our family for 100 years, 150 years, for 75 years. And the longer since the establishment of a certain business, the more weight it carries. It's known better, and in financial circles, it's a major positive point when people state that this is our business, this is our family business, and has been in our family for 75 years, for 250 years, for 100 years. Now this is the point I'm trying to make here is this, folks, my Zoroastrian brothers and sisters. Wrongfully, in my view, especially Zoroastrians from Iran. Now we know Zoroastrians from India, they have done well. They have understood this concept, especially from the British, because many of these long-lasting family businesses are in Britain, and it's not just secluded to wineries. We are talking about even cobblers, shoe shops, cobblers it's running through generations. Just recently I saw a documentary regarding a cobbler business in London, which basically has got 4 seals of approval from the British Queen. Has been the family has been cobblers. Cobblers basically making shoes, leather shoes, for the past like 250 years, 350 years, something like that. And now it's just the prices have increased. Now they make one pair of leather shoes, a simple pair of leather shoes, for $4,000. And people from all over the world go to them and buy these shoes, this pair of shoes, and order these shoes for $4, $5, $6, $7, $10,000. And they got same situation, goldsmiths, silversmiths, And once you look at the situation, and as the Zoroastrians of India, the Parsi people have figured this out and have learned this from the British, that the best way to make money is family business. The best way, the easiest way, the simplest way, and the most profitable way to make money is family business. The logic behind why family business, that's specially handed down generation after generation, is so profitable is quite simple. When you go get the degree in a higher education, you go to high school, get your diploma, come back, go to university, get a degree. What happens after that is quite simple. Where Americans, the English-speaking people, especially Americans, have a phrase for it. You make up a resume of your past accomplishments, your degree from the university, and then you have to go sell yourself. This is what Americans call it. You have to go sell yourself to the potential employers. And whoever can sell themselves better, this is the phrase they use, sell yourself. And whoever can sell themselves better, they get to have a bigger paycheck. The first time I heard of this phrase, I was amazed that it gets thrown around so easily. It was like, you have to sell yourself. Go ahead and sell yourself. Make a good resume, write a good resume, and then go sell yourself. I was amazed. And slowly it sinks in that you get a degree, and then you have to go and prove to the employer that you can do that job and you're able to do that job. And God forbid, if the employer hires you, now you have to continue selling yourself in order for the employer to keep you and not let you go and hire somebody else. And then in order to do that, and a lot of things come within the same bucket. Not only you have to sell yourself, then you have to sell your co-workers, basically, because you're begging for somebody else to give you a paycheck. And in order to do that, basically, not only you sell yourself to the employer, but also you have to sell your co-workers to the employer. Basically be a snitch. If you see anything, tell the employer that did this, that did that. Basically become a snitch for your co-workers. Sell your co-workers to the employer. And in the constant state of stress, live in a constant state of stress that, will this employer keep me? Will they let me go? How can I prove myself? How can I best kiss the employer's ass in order to get a paycheck? Folks, this is no way to make a living. Zoroastrian folks, this is no way to make a living. This is not a dignified way of making a living. Not only it's not dignified, but it's not profitable either. What the Parsi people of India have learned from the British is the many advantages of having a family business, a family-run business that gets handed down generation after generation. When you go to the university, this is not against higher education. Send your children out, get a higher education, but get a higher education which is somehow connected to the family business. It's useful for the family business. And have this mindset, Zoroastrian folks, have this mindset of, if your family does not have a family business, start a business. Start a business. Whatever you're proficient at, start getting into that business and become your own boss. and then bring your children into that business. Have this mindset that in the future you're going to hand that business down to your children. Here's are a few advantages of this. You probably can figure these out on yourself as well. But here's my 2 cents. Couple of advantages of this situation is this. You go get a higher education, you send your children to get a higher education. They only get the information, the current information regarding a certain field. Now, if they go on their own and this is not, and there is no, the objective is not for them to return to the family business, as I said, they have to prepare a resume and then go start knocking on doors and start selling themselves to the highest bidder. People offering them money for their skills. But when the family, when the objective is coming back to the family business, first of all, they don't have to prepare a resume. They don't have to sell themselves. Second, the business, the family business profits from that person's current information. That family member has gone to university, has picked up the current information for regarding this business. But that person also benefits immensely from going back to the family business, because in that field information is not enough. When his classmates only have the information, when he goes back to his family business, not only he has information, the necessary information just like his classmates, he has the connections that his family business have built through many years of working in that business. So once back in the family business, he's bringing in information and he's getting in touch with the family connections. And that's how it becomes a win-win situation, and it explodes in success, because new information, old connections, and there is no way but for the family business to get better and to make easy money. Here's the thing, folks. The objective in this life should be having a happy life. Happy, fulfilling life. And lives can only be happy and fulfilling if you spend most of the time with friends and family, especially family. Now, if you are getting a degree and going, making up a resume and going knocking on door to door, trying to sell yourself, and once somebody does buy you and you start working for them, it's quite simple. In order to continue selling yourself, the boss expects you to spend not only 8 hours but 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours on the job. No, maybe not on the job, back home, still on the email, on the phone, trying to work for the guy, so the guy can make more money, more profits. Folks, if you can get into your own family business where making money is easier, because you have it's a well-established business, you got all the connections in place, and another advantage of family business, you know all the things that you should not do, because it's been tried and it has been proven a wrong way to go, and it's been improved upon. So the family knows how not to do this and how not to do that, how not to do the other. So they have found a way to make the most profit out of the least investment. Why not continue that? In that way you spend less amount of time working and more time with your family. The result is a happier life. It's a more fulfilling life. Instead of running for the boss 8 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours a day for the boss, so the boss can make more profit, and you spend less and less and less time with your friends and family and doing the things that you like, if you have an option of continuing the family business, going back to the family business, getting your information from the university, but going back to the family business and continuing that line, which means working less, earning more, what's wrong with that? The reason I'm saying all this is because many Zoroastrians of Iran, especially, they have a very low self-worth, and they see themselves and their family businesses as not appealing, and they keep encouraging their children to go and study in these fields that have nothing to do with the family business. The family business is farming, and the children are encouraged to go and become a physicist, a mathematician, who cares, and the point is just to prove that you're intelligent enough to go get a degree. Are you serious, folks? There is nothing wrong with higher education, but a higher education which has nothing to do with the family business, with the father's business, wherein the offspring that finishes his education cannot come back and hook up with the family connections and get into the family business and hook up with the family connections, that's a waste of time. That's where the offspring gets a degree, comes back, and now he's got to go beg for a job. Zoroastrian fathers, please, do you want it? You're trying to make life difficult for your children by encouraging them to go and get a degree which is not connected to the family business, so they would have to go on all their life beg for a job, beg for a paycheck. Folks, don't get this wrong. A paycheck is a big check. If you're encouraging your children to go get into a field of education that at the end of the day they have to beg for their paycheck, somebody else has to sign their paycheck, you are encouraging your children into slavery. Zoroastrian fathers, do not encourage your children into slavery. A paycheck is slavery. End of story. A paycheck is slavery. We Zoroastrians, we don't want to be slave. We want to own slave. We don't want to be slave. And in order to do that, you have, those of you who don't have a family business, don't have your own business, the most important thing that you should think about right now and start acting upon is starting your own business. Doesn't matter. It's a plumbing, it's farming, does not matter what business. Because any business is going to be more profitable than working for somebody else. Any business is going to be more profitable than working for somebody else, as long as you know what you're doing. Get all your information, don't get into a field that you don't know anything about. Get all your facts right, and be sure that once you hand this down generation after generation, you're going to make less errors and you're going to be more profitable. Your children's errors are going to be less because you have already tried how not to do something. Because business, like life, is trial and error. So once a business is established, you will go do things wrong. But the more you continue, the less mistakes you make, and the more profitable your business will become. And that's why after 2, 3, 4, 5 generations, I mean, the guy starts as a farmer, but 3 generations down the road, those people are not going to be farming. They're owners of the corporation. Their hands never touch dirt. It's just that now they know how to make the most profit out of their investment in that business, and they no longer, they own a farm, they own a chateau, they own a chateau, but their hands never touch dirt or grape. They have an office in central town, and they sign papers as the owners of a company that grows grapes and makes wine. This is the objective, folks. Do not let go of your family business. Family business is the most important thing. It's the most profitable way of making a living, and it's most pleasant because the family keeps together, the family is together, and the people, members of this family, because the business is more profitable, have time to live a pleasant life, to be with each other, to be with their family member, and have a pleasant life. Doesn't matter what is the business. Could be a farm. Doesn't matter what you grow in the farm. As long as you know what you're doing, you have these trial and errors and find the best way, the most profitable way, and you hand all this information down to your next generation. And there is nothing wrong with it. If your children can have a pleasant life, work less and earn more, what can be better than that? Again, I'm saying this because many Zoroastrian families, well-established families, they have a business, but then they encourage their children to not follow in the family business. Just go on their own and study something good, something amazing. It's like, no, folks. Sometimes in some families there is one of the offsprings who's basically in love with the subject. Okay, that's since 5, that offspring has been in love with astronomy, with stars and the moon and the planets. Okay, that you can't do anything about. It's like, this person is in love with this subject and doesn't want to be in the family business. Great, no problem. Follow your dream, and in those instances, those family members, those offsprings that are like this, they usually are well informed in that field. They become well informed in that field, that usually they are sponsored by other institutions to go and study for free and get into that field for free, because they're anomalies. They're in love with their field. But most of the offspring, most of your children don't know exactly what they want to do. And for these folks, which is 90% of the offsprings are like that, the best thing you can do is to encourage them to get into fields that are connected, that can be incorporated into the family business, and encourage them, bring them into the family business, and encourage them to join the family business, and explain this is the best way. You don't want your children at age 25 have to write up a resume and try to sell themselves, for God's sakes. Sell themselves to potential employers and beg for their paycheck, and always be in stress all through their life that will their next paycheck be coming, or will they be laid off, or all the time having to compete with their co-workers for promotions and for paychecks. And why do you want to put your children through that shit? when your children can become part of the family business and eventually be the boss and have employers work for him. Doesn't matter what, again, Zoroastrians, if you have a plumbing, the owner of the, I mean, eventually, if the father himself is a plumber, you can be sure that 1 or 2 generations down the road, their offsprings are not going to be themselves plumbing. They're going to be sitting in an office somewhere and have others do the actual plumbing. So doesn't matter how low you think of your business, your family business. If you don't have a business, start a business. Zoroastrian folks, please, you should think about it yourself, but if you don't have a business, you should start a business immediately. And encourage your children to come into your business. And believe me, no business is low. No business is any business, when you're the owner, is the best business in the world, because you're the owner. You're the guy who writes your own paycheck, even if it's plumbing, if it's farming, if it's, doesn't matter. If it's a small shop in the corner, doesn't matter. You're your own boss. There is a potential there that you yourself or your children can expand that business, and you never have to work for somebody else, and you don't have to beg for a paycheck. And that's the most important thing. And you don't have to go far. Just open up your eyes and see who is winning in this world. The Jews. The Jews have this tradition of having their own business and bringing their children into their family business. And look where they are now. Zoroastrian folks, especially Zoroastrians of Iran, see who's winning and follow in their footsteps. This is a good way to go. Owning a family business, doesn't matter what business and how small it is and how small it has to be started. Eventually it will get bigger, eventually it will expand. But start your own business. Stop working for other people. Stop encouraging your children from going on, getting into fields of education that's eventually they have to start working for somebody else. Stop. That's wrong. You don't take my word for it. Just think about it yourself. That's wrong. Getting a paycheck, doesn't matter how big the paycheck is, you're still a slave to the guy who's writing you that paycheck. Understand this. Teach your children this. If you're getting a paycheck, you're still a slave to the guy who's writing you that paycheck. You still have to snitch for them, rat on your coworkers for them. You still have to beg for your paycheck. You still have to prove your worth. Every month, every year, you have to prove your worth to your employer that, yes, I'm worth that paycheck. I don't want my children to go through life having to prove themselves every year, every month, every day to their employer that they're worth the paycheck that they're getting. Why? Having your own boss, having your children be their own boss, running their own business, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. And eventually, slowly, you will expand, and your family will expand the business, and life will get easier and easier and easier. Please. I mean, you go through the history, you see, as I said, the Jews, or any family, any of the families in Europe especially, that have brought their children into their family business and have spread that business. I mean, if the business is too big and there is not enough room in that business, in that single business, it has come to the point that a father has given enough information and has provided his connection to his sons and has sent them to different cities, and sort of like, okay, I have this business here, there is no more room for growth in this business, in this city. Now you go to the city next door and you establish the same business over there, but I will provide you with all the information and all the connection that I have, and has done this with all his children. And you see, I mean, a whole country, 6 people are in charge of certain business, and they're all of the same family. What can be better than that? It's a monopoly. It's a family monopoly. Again, Zoroastrian folks, especially Zoroastrians of Iran, please think about this. Establish your own business with the mindset that this business has to stay in your family for the foreseeable future, for 500 years, for 600, for 1,000, doesn't matter. You have to go towards establishing your own businesses and keeping those businesses within your family for multiple generations. This should be your aim. And the most well-known example of that amongst Zoroastrian is the Tata family. You just see how the Tatas have done it and how successful they have been. With this mindset, you have to do the same. Doesn't matter what field it is. You have to be all Zoroastrians, we all have to do the same. Get into a business, establish a family business in that field, and encourage your children, bring your children from age 5, doesn't matter, from age 10. As soon as they can walk, you bring the children into the business, maybe 1 hour a week, maybe 2 hours a week. As they get older, you bring them more often to the business and demand from them to take responsibility for that business and perform certain functions in that business. And eventually you fall in love with what you're good at. And what you're good at, you get through practice. So once you bring your children from a young age to your business, they have a lot of practice in that business. So they get good at it. And eventually they will fall in love with it. That's how you encourage children towards something. First bring them in, they learn it, they get good at it, and eventually they will fall in love with it. And they will see the benefit of it. If they don't see it yourself, you can explain to them that this is how it works. It's either this, that you get an easy income and you have a lot of free time to spend with your family, or you go and get into a field that you have to write a resume and you have to go sell yourself for a job.